If Celia Flores were being honest, as a dancer trained to smile through shin splints, she rarely was. Coming home felt like closing night. On Broadway, she'd been a third-row silhouette in 3 hit revivals. But when her mother called saying the Baylight Playhouse in Mariners Haven, Delaware, was going dark for good, the applause in her head died. That cedar-shingled shoebox was where she'd first learned to spot the light, where she'd practiced time steps in fishing boots while gulls dive-bombed the roof. If the playhouse was gone, what exactly had she left home to shine for? So Celia traded midtown auditions for briny air and off-season beaches. The marquee letters were half gone, gull-pecked. Ayeeghoe. Inside, empty seats smelled of salt and mildew. Inside, empty seats smelled of salt and mildew. Mayor Tom Garrick, once her high school trombonist, handed her the bad news in the lobby. The bank would take possession in 6 weeks, unless the town could raise $75,000. "Sell T-shirts, put out a tip jar, do a TikTok," Tom suggested weakly, as if fundraising were a single jazz hand. "We're theatre people," Celia said. "We sell stories." So she sketched a plan. Mount an original jukebox musical celebrating Mariners Haven's maritime history. Do 4 august performances during tourist rush. Sell every seat, stream it online, and auction souvenir lobster pots. It was audacious, amateur, and completely insane. It meant it had a fighting chance. Word of the homecoming spread faster than no-see-ums on a windless dusk. Retired dock workers wanted to sing sea shanties. Teenagers volunteered to sword fight with mop handles. Even Celia's old tap coach, Iris Lawton, now 82 with 2 titanium knees, offered to demonstrate time steps. The chorus would be uneven, the orchestra a grab bag, but Celia had seen Broadway miracles conjured from worse. By the second week of rehearsals, the flyloft creaked with activity. Celia, wearing a headset and her father's old Phillies cap, darted between clusters of hopefuls, showing altos where to breathe and crabbing down the aisle to correct footwork. The town pharmacist stitched costumes, scout troops painted clapboard cottages on plyboard flats, and every coffee shop on the boardwalk pledged tips to the theatre. Yet the building itself resisted revival. The basement smelled like low tide. Electrical cables hissed ominously whenever the fog machine kicked, and the stage floor, warped from decades of humidity, groaned under full company dance breaks. One Wednesday, during lunch break, Celia crawled beneath the apron with a flashlight to inspect a loose board that had sent 2 middle schoolers sprawled. She expected to find a floor joist cracked, or maybe a possum. Instead, the beam was intact, but the board was hollow beneath. Curling her fingers under the edge, she lifted. A rectangle of wood, tipped up on hidden hinges, and a dusty breath of cool air rose from below. "Well, that's new, whisperer." The gap revealed a rough-hewn staircase descending into darkness. Every sensible cell in her body shouted OSHA violation, but curiosity has better footwork than caution. She grabbed her phone, thumbed the flashlight on, and descended. The stairs terminated in a stone-lined chamber no bigger than the men's dressing room. Yellowed playbills fluttered on a rusted nail productions from the 1,942nd shelves, held hat boxes, unlit Klieg lamp bulbs, and a hand-cranked Victrola. Against the far wall stood a wooden trunk secured by a tarnished padlock, its clasp twisted off long ago. Inside, wrapped in rotting burlap, sat a constellation of silver. Candlesticks, platters, a filigreed clock, a lopsided tiara missing one gem. Celia ran a finger across the clock face. Grime rubbed away, revealing ornate etchings of seahorses, and the initials HMOO. The initials jangled something in her memory. The Haven Maritime Outreach burglar, priceless adult case. She recalled overhearing adults whisper about it after PTA meetings. how in 1984, priceless antiques bound for a charity auction vanished the night before the gala. Insurance paid out, but the goods were never found. The leading suspect, Everett Crane, had been the Playhouse manager back then. He'd vanished a year after the heist, rumored drowned in a nor'easter. Officially, though, no one was ever charged. Celia's dancer brain, trained to sequence steps, suddenly had new choreography, stolen goods hidden under the stage, a vanished manager, a struggling theatre poised to close. But the show upstairs needed her, and whatever haunted secret slept here had lain quiet for almost 40 years. She snapped photos, closed the trunk, and climbed back into daylight. Rehearsal resumed. Celia called, "Places!" and students scurried. Still, her mind ran parallel scenes, plebe above, felony below. That night, over clam chowder at her mother's kitchen table, Celia pulled up digitized newspaper clippings on her laptop. The outreach gala, she learned, had been scheduled at the Baylight Playhouse to celebrate its bicentennial. Everett Crane oversaw lighting and security. When staff arrived the next morning, display cases were smashed and valuables gone. Crane insisted he'd locked up after final checks. He passed a polygraph, yet suspicion clung. 6 months later he resigned, citing health issues, and boarded a shrimp trawler bound south. His body was never found, though a blooded slicker washed ashore near Cape Charles. So either he drowned, Celia muttered, or he staged the perfect exit. Her mother, Yolanda, dabbed chowder from her apron. "You aren't detective material, Mija. Remember when you tried to figure out who stole your prom dress?" Celia groaned. She'd assumed sabotage. Turned out she'd left the dress at a seamstress. "This is different. Actual stolen silverware." "Then tell the police." "And become the chorus girl who shut down rehearsals for a crime scene?" "We need time. Cameras, press, donor fatigue." Yolanda pointed her spoon. "You need allies. Go see Iris. That woman knows every gossip vein in this town." Next morning, Celia visited Iris Lawton's cottage. The octogenarian ballerina poured Twinings, then listened as Celia unspooled the find. Iris set her teacup down with a click. "A lot of people season your hand, you say? My. Holiday treasure indeed. You were dancing here in 84, right?" Celia asked. "Choreographing the Pirates of Penzance. Everett was in charge of props. Gentle soul, always humming Poor Wandering One." Iris's expression clouded. He adored that theatre like a child, never believed he stole a thing. If he didn't, who did? That, dear heart, was the question. The police sniffed around stagehands, ushers, even me, but no evidence. Celia showed Iris photos of the trunk. The older woman leaned in, eyes widening at the tiara. "I've seen that before," she whispered. "Mrs. Osgood's diadem. I helped catalogue it." Could Everett have hidden the items for safekeeping? Maybe he suspected they'd be taken and stashed them. But why vanish? The kettle whistled again. Iris refilled their cups. He was rumoured to owe money to loan sharks. The theatre barely paid. If thieves pressured him, perhaps he hid the loot and planned to negotiate, then fled when things soured. Celia's phone buzzed. Stage manager Janelle texting about broken mic packs. Celia pocketed it. "I need to finish this musical before the bank forecloses. But that chamber might hold the key to save us twice. Solve a crime and earn the Playhouse historic landmark status." Iris's eyes sparkled. "A reopening spectacular and a mystery reveal box. Object gold. Would you help me sort the artifacts?" Quietly. "With pleasure." They agreed to meet that night after rehearsal. Meanwhile, Celia returned to the theatre and dove into choreography with renewed fervour. She wove clues into blocking. Chorus lines curved like question marks. Ensemble numbers ended in tableaux resembling open locks. Nobody noticed. Symbolism thrives on oblivious audiences. At 10 p.m., when the last volunteer shuffled home, Celia, Iris, and the stagehand Mason, Belle 17, loyal and agile, slipped under the trapdoor. Mason's GoPro illuminated the chamber. They documented each item, placing them in archival boxes Iris had borrowed from the museum. Suddenly, Mason paused at a groove in the wall, sliding his fingers along mortar. "Looks like a crack," he said, pressing. A section of stone pivoted, revealing a narrow tunnel. Cool air brushed their faces. Iris gasped. Celia's pulse hammered. "Maybe a coal chute," Mason suggested. They inched inside. 50 feet in, the tunnel emerged beneath the back alley fish market, ending at a rotting wooden hatch. On its inner lip hung a rusted plaque. Baylight Coal Delivery, 1906. Celia pictured timing. Thieves break display cases, drop valuables below stage, haul them through tunnel to a fish truck on the alley. Easy exit pre-dawn. If Everett discovered the plan, perhaps he intercepted the loot, hid it, and vanished before culprits retaliated. On the ground near the hatch, Mason found a metal theatre key covered in grime. Etched initials, E.C. Iris exhaled. Poor Everett. Back in the chamber, Celia sealed boxes and replaced the floorboard. She could almost feel Everett's ghost practicing curtain calls overhead. Days galloped. Ticket sales spiked after local bloggers posted rehearsal clips. The cast learned to harmonize, ankles away with kazoos. T-shirt orders poured from alumni longing for coastal nostalgia. Still, Celia's stomach clenched whenever she saw Mayor Garrick, who'd promised a bank update the day before opening. Meanwhile, she dug deeper. Old yearbooks showed Everett Crane and Mabel Ansbro, the fish market's owner, as high school sweethearts. Mabel died in 1990, leaving the shop to her nephew Lyle Briggs, the same Lyle who now delivered crab rolls to rehearsals twice a week, humming sea shanties off-key. Lyle, wiry and sun-spotted, wore hearing aids and a permanent grin. He'd chat about tides, tourist traffic, and the Orioles' bullpen. But his eyes slid away when she mentioned Everett. That alone wasn't proof, but Celia's instincts pirouetted. Thursday evening, Celia visited Lyle's shuttered shop. He was filleting bluefish behind the counter. "Need something for dinner?" he asked. "Just answers," she said, locking the front door. "I found Everett's key." His knife paused mid-slice. "He didn't steal the maritime outreach pieces," Celia continued. "Hid them after you and your buddies looted the gala. You used the coal tunnel, right? Everett caught on, stashed the loot, planned to turn it in. You chased him onto that trawler. Maybe you figured the ocean would finish him." Her voice trembled. "Except the sea gave him back a slicker on the shore," Lyle set the knife aside. "Child, you don't know. I know the bank forecloses in 8 days. If the theater closes, that tunnel gets excavated. Cops will find fingerprinted artifacts and your aunt's shipping ledgers. So decide, confession or collapse." He sank onto a stool, shoulders folding inward. "I was 21. Mabel's fish shop was dying. Everett said the auction antiques could keep both theatre and market afloat. He planned to borrow them, sell a few, buy them back later. I believed him. The night we loaded the crates, he panicked, tried to back out. We fought. He ran. I never saw him again." Tears pooled. "I waited for police, but none came. I figured Everett took the fall. When he died, guilt swallowed me." Celia's anger softened. She imagined Lyle, a scared kid, clenching contraband, too deep to surface. "Let's resurface together," she said. "Come to rehearsal tomorrow. Bring your statement. I'll call Detective Parrish." That night, she slept for the first time in weeks. Friday morning, she and Lyle met Detective Parrish in the empty orchestra pit. Lyle confessed, turning over Mabel's old ledger matching serial numbers on the silver. Parrish shook his head in astonishment. Cold cases were rare delights. He agreed to delay public disclosure until after opening weekend, provided the evidence remained secured under police seal on site. Officers catalogued artifacts and posted a plainclothes guard at the trapdoor, blending into stage crew. News embargoes never hold in small towns. By Saturday afternoon, whispers flew. Priceless treasure beneath bay light. Ticket sales soared to standing room only. Reporters requested press passes, and the mayor smelled headlines of Broadway Homecoming solves decades-old mystery. Garrick phoned the bank. The manager, seeing potential windfall from publicity, granted a 90-day reprieve. Opening night arrived shimmering. The lobby buzzed with sunscreened vacationers, local matriarchs in pearls, off-duty Coast Guardsmen. Celia peeked through a curtain. House lights gleamed on every seat, the ghost light now dimmed, the future ready. Act 4 opened with a tap number on rolling barrels. Celia led the chorus, her timing crisp as sea salt. Backstage, Detective Parrish watched from the wings, arms crossed but smiling. The audience hooted at jokes about gull droppings and lighthouse foghorns. Iris looked radiant conducting the pit band with a pink ostrich feather baton. During intermission, Celia stood alone center stage, breathing sawdust and history. She thought of Everett Crane, dreamer, manager, maybe accidental hero. Tonight his theatre lived. Act 2 climaxed with the company singing Harbour of Hope as waves projected across the proscenium. Lyle, newly sworn stagehand, hoisted storm sails on a pulley Everett had installed decades earlier. His grief eased with every cue he executed correctly. The curtain call detonated cheers. Celia bowed, tears streaking rouge. Mayor Garrick bounded on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to your generosity and an unfolding miracle, Baylight Playhouse has met its emergency goal. House lights flared as donors pledged on their phones. Outside, gulls wheeled against a violet sky. Celia slipped out a side door, humming the finale. On the boardwalk, Detective Parrish approached. Forensics matched fibers, he said. Everett fought for that trunk. Brave man. And now? Celia asked. The state will honor him at a ceremony next month. As for you, Broadway calling again. Celia looked back at the glowing marquee, fully lit for the first time in years. Maybe eventually, she said. But there's talk of turning the hidden room into a museum exhibit, and someone needs to choreograph the guided tours, she grinned. Besides, I have a new show in mind. Working title, The Secret Under the Stage. Parrish tipped his cap. Break a leg. She watched him leave, then listened to the Atlantic's hush, like an audience settling before lights down. Above the rhythmic surf and distant applause, Celia heard the faintest echo shy, grateful of a man humming Poor Wandering One. She raised her arms, faced the ocean, and imagined the curtain rising on tomorrow.